Imagine a gymnasium in England. Thousands of people packed in so tight there is no room to move. A heavy-set man in a flannel shirt walks to the microphone. No dramatic entrance, no fog machine, no spotlight. He stops. He tilts his head. He says quietly, "There is someone here. Left side. You have had a chronic condition in your lower back for 11 years. The Lord wants to heal you tonight." A woman stands up in the left section. She has not told anyone why she came tonight. She walks forward. He places his hand on her. He says these words, "Be healed now in Jesus' name." She falls to her knees, not from being pushed, not from emotion, from the weight of something entering her body that she has no category for. When she stands up, 11 years of chronic pain is gone. The doctors confirm it the following week. And the man who prayed for her? He went home that night, knelt beside his bed the same way he had done for 9 months when nothing happened, and thanked the God who had finally trusted him with the miracle he had kept praying for. This is the story of John Richard Wimber, a fourth-generation pagan, a jazz musician, a cessationist turned kingdom bringer, an ordinary man who refused to quit and change the face of global Christianity forever. Comment below with, "I am a fool for Christ," if you are ready to quit playing it safe and do the stuff Jesus actually commissioned you to do. John Richard Wimber is born to an unwed mother in poverty. His father is largely absent. There is no church in his story, no Bible on the shelf, no grace before meals. He would later say he only knew Jesus as a curse word, and that when Carol told him God had a book, he looked at her and said, "God wrote that?" Fourth-generation pagan. That was his starting point. But God had been building something long before John knew he existed. As a teenager, John discovers music, and the discovery is less like learning and more like recognition. He is extraordinary. By his early 20s, he is arranging and performing with the Paramours, who would evolve into the Righteous Brothers, one of the defining acts of American popular music. He is in Las Vegas. He is in studios. He is shaping the sound of a generation. And from the outside, he has everything. But there are moments. Driving home after a performance, the applause gone silent behind him, a feeling he cannot name pressing against his chest. Something is missing. He is surrounded by everything he worked for. And he is hollow. He meets Carol Ann Moe. She becomes the anchor he never had. They marry. They have 4 children, Sean, Tim, Chris, and Stephanie. And it is Carol who will one day tell him God has a book. The jazz musician is about to become a fool for Christ. He just doesn't know it yet. 1963. John Wimber is 29 years old. He finds himself in a small Bible study. Not because he is searching exactly, but because Carol dragged him there. And something happens. He reads the New Testament for the first time in his life, with absolutely no theological filter. No seminary training telling him what it means, no tradition conditioning him to explain away what he sees. He reads it like a pagan, like a man who just found instructions for a machine he didn't know existed. And what he finds there destroys him. He ends up on the floor, weeping. The only word he knows to pray is the one he used to use as a curse word, Jesus, 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 and in that moment, a vision. He sees a man in downtown Los Angeles wearing a sandwich board. Front panel, "I'm a fool for Christ." Back panel, "Whose fool are you?" From that moment, John Wimber knows. His calling is not to be impressive. It is to be faithful, not to be celebrated, but to be a fool, for the only one worth being a fool for. He is baptized, he devours Scripture, and then he asks the question that will define the next 34 years of his life. He goes to his church leaders and asks, with completely sincere eyes, "When do we get to do the stuff? You know, healing the sick, casting out demons, raising the dead. The stuff Jesus did." The answer comes back crisp and theological. We don't do that anymore. John cannot accept this. He reads the Gospel of John. Greater works than these shall you do. He reads Matthew 10, heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, raise the dead. He reads Acts with pagan eyes and sees a church that looks nothing like the one he is sitting in. So what does he do? He goes to Bible study one Sunday. He hears the parable of the pearl of great price, and he asks the teacher, a welder named Gunnar Payne, a question that is really a confession. If a man had only one thing he was really good at, would God ask him to give it up? Gunnar looks at him. He knows exactly who the man in the parable is. He says if God asked him to, he'd have to be willing to. John hangs his head. Yeah, he says quietly. I thought so. He goes home. He gets boxes. He packs every arrangement, every recording, every professional artifact of 15 years in the music industry. He loads them into his car, and he drives to the city dump. He has no ministry, no calling confirmed, no plan B. He throws his career in the trash. He gets a job at a collection agency. For the first time in his life, his hands are dirty. He walks into doctors' offices. He knocks on suburban doors. He talks to nurses. And along his collection route, this former Las Vegas musician starts scheduling lunch-hour Bible studies with strangers. The welder Gunnar Payne walks alongside him. Gunnar is nobody. No title, no degree, no platform. Just a man who loves God and wins souls everywhere he goes. In 3 years beside Gunnar, John wins 400 to 500 people to Jesus Christ. This is the first expression of everyone gets to play. And it happens in a suburban parking lot with a welder. But John is burning out. He has become a church growth consultant for Fuller Seminary, traveling with C. Peter Wagner across America, consulting hundreds of churches. He is successful, he is respected, and he is completely empty. One night he is on a plane flying into Detroit, another city, nobody waiting for him, family in California. He leans his head against the cabin wall and stares into the dark. He checks into his hotel room. He does something he hasn't done in a long time. He opens his Bible. He kneels beside the bed. He falls asleep kneeling. He wakes up in the middle of the night. And in the silence of that Detroit hotel room, God speaks. I've seen your ministry. Now let me show you mine. John resigns his consulting position the next morning. He returns to California to pastor a little house church of 50 people. He has traded a prestigious seminary appointment for a living room. And in that living room, God is about to begin the most uncomfortable education of John Wimber's life. He reads the Gospels again. And this time, something shifts. The Gospel of Matthew is not a history book anymore. It is a job description. Jesus went throughout Galilee, teaching, preaching, and healing every disease and sickness among the people. John stares at that verse and says out loud, I have only been doing half the job. So he begins teaching on healing, every week. And every week, he calls people forward to be prayed for. And every week, nothing happens. Week after week, month after month. Nearly 1,000 prayers. Not one physical healing. The congregation starts to waver. Critics start to talk. John starts to wonder if he has led everyone into a beautiful delusion. He reaches his breaking point. He tells God he is done praying for sick people. God speaks back, not gently. Preach my word or get out. John. How far out? God, of the kingdom. And then, the line that undoes him. Preach my word. Not your non-experience. Have you ever felt that? The weight of that correction? God is not saying keep waiting. God is saying your silence is disobedience. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it isn't true. Just because your experience is empty doesn't mean my word is. John later reflected, evangelicals chide Pentecostals for preaching their experience. God was chiding me for preaching my non-experience. Just because we don't see healing when we pray doesn't alleviate the fact that it's still our job. He gets up. He goes back to the pulpit. He preaches healing again. Month 10. The phone rings. A man says, my wife is sick in bed. I have to go to work. Come and heal her. John storms out the back door. He later said he made what he called an Italian gesture, the expression of a man who has just received a box of extremely bad goods. He drives to the house furious and faith empty. The woman is genuinely, undeniably ill. John says a fast prayer, barely. Then he turns to give the husband his well-practiced speech about why not everyone gets healed. He had gotten very good at that speech. The husband is smiling at something over John's shoulder. John turns around. The woman is up, making the bed. "What are you doing? What happened?" She says it simply. "Well, you healed me." They invite him to stay for breakfast. He turns. He staggers out of the house. He gets halfway across the lawn, and it hits him. He clicks his heels. He drives home. On the LA freeway, barely able to see through what is happening. He pulls over. He has an open vision. He sees a honeycomb in the sky, honey raining down. Some people wiping it off with annoyance, others receiving it and pouring it into the hands of everyone around them. And God speaks into the vision with terrifying simplicity. "That is my mercy. Healing and salvation is poured out for everyone. There is plenty for everyone. Don't ever beg for my mercy again. The problem is not up here, it's down there." From this moment, John Wimber never again sees healing as something to petition God for. He sees it as the pre-existing mercy of God, waiting to be released by any believer willing to step out in obedience. Healing is not a reward for the deserving. It is the freely reigning mercy of God, and everybody gets to play. By 1982, the healings are coming faster than John can count. Over 50 documented healings weekly. Cancer, organic disease, chronic conditions, deaf ears, demonization broken, and, crucially, it is not John doing most of the praying. It is a grandmother in the third row, a teenager, a factory worker, a nurse. Everybody gets to play. John takes this into the academy. At Fuller Theological Seminary, he co-teaches MC 510, Signs, Wonders, and Church Growth, with C. Peter Wagner. It becomes the most attended and most controversial course in the seminary's history. He does not just teach healing, he demonstrates it in the lecture hall. The academic establishment erupts. Formal complaints, institutional pressure, mockery from credentialed theologians who have watched God do nothing in their experience and concluded, therefore, that God does nothing. John absorbs it. He keeps teaching, people keep getting healed. C. Peter Wagner would later call him the molder of a generation and the fountainhead of the third wave movement. Carroll went further. God has a blueprint for revival, and he gave it to John Wimber. But John was learning something in those years that no seminary course could teach. He was learning what to do when the miracle doesn't come. He prays for someone. Nothing happens. He does not collapse theologically. He does not explain it away. He simply turns and prays for the next person. His theology holds both realities without flinching. The kingdom is here, and it is not yet fully consummated. Healings are real, and some prayers go unanswered, and neither truth cancels the other, and we keep praying. Sometimes our experiences don't fit what we believe, but we know God commissions us to heal. The Vineyard Christian Fellowship of Anaheim becomes the laboratory and the launchpad. John goes to England. Conservative Anglican clergy, suspicious, liturgical, shaped by centuries of theological caution, open their doors to this heavy-set American in a flannel shirt. And the Church of England is never the same. At the Harrogate Conference, at Holy Trinity Brompton, in parishes that had been spiritually dormant for generations, people encounter God for the first time in buildings built to facilitate such encounters, but which had forgotten how. Leaders like David Watson and Sandy Miller are permanently altered. The seeds John plants grow directly into the new wine movement and into the Alpha Course, now used in over 169 countries around the world. During one UK ministry visit, a man blind from birth receives his sight. It is witnessed, it is documented, and it announces to a skeptical European audience what power evangelism actually looks like when it moves beyond theory into a broken human body. In Hong Kong, Over 3,000 people respond to a single altar call, with documented healings and deliverances occurring throughout the meeting. Healing and salvation inseparable, just as John saw in the honeycomb vision on the LA freeway years before. And through all of it, the worship. John Wimber changed how the global church sings. Before him, congregational worship was largely either formal liturgy or theatrical entertainment. John introduced something neither: intimate, lyric-driven, spirit-responsive worship as a vehicle for encounter. Songs like Isn't He, Spirit Song, and Mercy changed the atmosphere of churches around the world. The Vineyard Worship Catalog became the direct ancestor of everything you now hear in contemporary Christian worship: Bethel, Hillsong, Elevation. All of it carries the DNA of what John built in a gymnasium in Anaheim. But he was careful. Careful in a way almost no one in his world was. The Quakers had a phrase for when people manufactured spiritual atmosphere through emotional manipulation, creaturely activity. John adopted it as a diagnostic tool. Carol described him sending people out for a coffee break when emotional levels rose too high during worship. He would turn the lights on. He never used sad stories, dramatic music swells, or tear-jerking appeals to manufacture what only the Spirit could produce. He called that kind of thing strange fire, and he would not touch it. Presence over production. Encounter over entertainment, always. John Wimber was not a perfect man. He made significant mistakes. His association with the Kansas City Prophets in the late 1980s, a network of prophetic voices whose claims proved inaccurate and whose practices proved unwise, is a documented chapter he owned publicly and eventually addressed directly with his movement. He distanced the Vineyard. He was corrected. He did not hide from it. When Carol once asked him to identify his primary gift, not healer, not pastor, not prophet, not theologian, he thought for a moment and said, "I think I'm a change agent. I come in, and things are different afterwards." That was John Wimber's honest self-knowledge. Strip away every title, remove every accolade. What remains? A man who came in and left things different. Even at the height of his influence, John battled private seasons of spiritual dryness. He spoke about it from the platform. He wrote about it in his books. He refused to perform a confidence he did not have in a given season, because he understood that the moment you perform your faith instead of live it, you have traded the presence of God for the approval of men. He would not make that trade. 1993. John Wimber, the man who had watched cancer disappear from bodies under his hands, is diagnosed with sinus cancer. He undergoes radiation. His salivary glands are permanently damaged. From this point forward, he speaks with synthetic saliva, then a major heart attack, then a stroke in 1995, then heart bypass surgery in 1997. His body is failing in degrees, publicly, visibly. The man who taught thousands to pray for the sick cannot heal himself. And he never says a word of bitterness. He continues to travel. He continues to minister, sitting where he once stood, leaning where he once strode, still praying for the sick from the piano bench with synthetic saliva in his mouth, still with the same gravelly warmth, still with the same self-deprecating humor. Sometimes our experiences don't fit what we believe, but we know God commissions us to heal. He keeps going. That is the whole sermon. He keeps going. Now, have you ever thought that the price is too high? Have you looked at the road ahead and thought, "I cannot pay what this will cost"? Watch this man minister from a deteriorating body and ask yourself, what is my excuse? November the 17th, 1997. John Richard Wimber dies from a brain hemorrhage following complications from his stroke. He is 63 years old. The grief is global and immediate. Anglican bishops in England, house churches in Korea, vineyard congregations in Australia, Catholic charismatics in South America. The breadth of mourning is itself a testimony, because you do not mourn this widely for someone unless they deposited something real into your life that you cannot imagine living without. Carol is present. Carol continues. What does one man's yes to God actually produce? 2,400 churches, 95 nations, over 1 million meals served to the poor annually through Vineyard-affiliated ministries, thousands of leaders whose ministries were permanently redirected by one encounter with a fat man in a flannel shirt who believed the Gospels were a job description. His books remain. Power Evangelism, Power Healing, The Dynamics of Spiritual Growth. Everyone gets to play. They are not inspirational reading. They are training manuals for people who have decided that the Gospels are not history. They are instructions. His worship songs still fill churches on 6 continents every Sunday morning. His theology, the already and not yet kingdom, the naturally supernatural life, the democratization of the miraculous, continues to shape how millions of ordinary believers understand their calling. A thinker named Robert Clinton wrote about the concept of convergence, the moment when everything God has allowed in a life finally comes together. The music career, the welder who showed him the way, the fuller training, the burnout, the drought, the breakthrough, the suffering. Nothing was wasted. Every piece was raw material for a man God was building in secret. Clinton says that many people park before they reach convergence. The pain gets too great, the silence gets too long, the cost gets too high, and they stop. John Wimber never parked, not in the hotel room in Detroit, not in the drought when 1,000 prayers went unanswered, not when the academy mocked him, not when his own body failed him, not when he made mistakes and had to own them publicly. He never parked. And the question for every person watching this, the only question this documentary was ever really asking, is this: will you park? Or will you be the person who, at month 10 of the silence, gets back up and knocks on one more door? Will you be the person who, when God says, "I've seen your ministry, now let me show you mine," actually quits what was working and follows him into the unknown? Will you be the fat man in the back row that John Wimber spent his whole life trying to convince? The one who carries the same spirit as every apostle who ever walked, who finally decides, "I am done watching from the pew. I am going to do the stuff." The Gospels are still a job description. The mercy of God is still raining down like honey. The stuff did not stop with John Wimber. It is waiting for you to pick it up. John Wimber was told the stuff didn't happen anymore. He refused to believe it. He prayed through 10 months of silence, took his career to the city dump, and became one of the most significant kingdom voices of the 20th century. Not because he was gifted, but because he refused to park. The question was never, could God use someone like John Wimber? The question is, will you pay the price John Wimber paid? Because the calling on your life is not waiting for you to become more qualified. It is waiting for you to become more obedient. Comment below with, "I am a fool for Christ," if you are ready to do the stuff. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, like and subscribe to Cloud of Witnesses for more life-changing stories of faith that will equip you to boldly fulfill the call of God in your life. This week, pray for one sick person every single day for 7 days. Not because you feel ready, but because the gospel commands it. Don't ask God if it's His will. Release His mercy. Keep a journal of what happens. You may be at day 1 of your own 10-month journey, and the breakthrough is already on its way. Now, if John Wimber moved you, our next subject will absolutely shatter everything you think you know about who God uses. Charles and Frances Hunter were an elderly couple, ordinary by every measure the world uses. What if the greatest healing revival of their generation was operated not by trained theologians, but by a grandmother and her husband who simply believed the stuff? What if age was never the barrier you thought it was? What if the price they paid looked nothing like sacrifice, and everything like joy? What if their story is the permission slip your life has been waiting for? Check out this next video to discover how the Happy Hunters ignited a healing movement across nations. Learn the principle of joyful, radical obedience that multiplied their impact beyond anything they planned, and find the key that will unlock the ministry already living inside you.